It's time for Baby and Toddler Instructions with host Blythe Lipman. Blythe is a nationally renowned infant and toddler expert who has over 30 years' experience helping moms and dads regain their sanity, teaching them how to survive, and giving them the confidence they need to be the best parents ever. From sleeping, to crying, to potty training, to choosing a preschool, and so much more. If you're a parent, Baby and Toddler Instructions is the show you've been looking for. Now here's your host, Blythe Lipman.
Well, good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever in the world you might be. Thanks so much for tuning in to Baby and Toddler Instructions today. I'm your host, Blythe Lipman. And if you're tuning in for the first time, welcome to my show. Love doing my show. I have such great guests. And again today, another wonderful guest, Alan Klein, who'll be with us in just a bit. I'm so excited. He's been on the show a number of times, and he's just written, I believe, his 26th book. It's the best book. Everybody should have this book. It's called Secrets Kids Know That Adults Ought to Learn It. I'll tell you why I honestly could not put it down. So he'll be with us in just a bit. First, before we go on, I want to send out my good thoughts, energy, and prayers to people in Texas and Florida trying to recover. And now the earthquake in Mexico and the new Hurricane Maria. My gosh, what's going on in this world? Anyway, we have to, if we can help, go to the different sites, the Red Cross or the Salvation Army, and look at the list and see what they need. Because there was a program that showed people just sending a lot of their old stuff they didn't use. And, of course, they say money is the best, but they need things like diapers and wipes and, somebody even sent underwear, things we wouldn't think about. So I hope everybody's okay with this new Hurricane Maria and everybody else can recover quickly. So just wanted to say that. Moving on, September is Baby Safety Month, and there were 2 recalls. First recall is the Studio Fun slap bracelets that come with storybooks. The metal band can wear through the fabric, covering the slap bracelet, posing a laceration hazard. And the second one, and this is scary, we talk about this all the time, Target recalled the Room Essentials 4-drawer dresser because it's not stable, and if it's not anchored to the wall, it has a serious tip-over and entrapment hazard. If you have any bookcases, tables that you have your TVs on, anything, make sure you mount them to the wall, because while you think your toddler is not going to climb on something, I can tell you they are really, really curious, and you do not want an accident to happen. So check those 2 out. Go to my website, mybestparentingadvice.com. Go to the recall page, and I have the toll-free numbers and the websites. If you have any of these items, you can call them. They'll either replace them, they'll give you your money back, whatever works for you. But keep those little ones safe all the time. Also, before Alan comes on, there was this really interesting article in the UK Independent. It was about super bright kids. And this, I'm going to ask Alan if I remember what he thinks about this. It says, Following thousands of super bright kids for 4.5 decades, you learn a thing or two about how to raise a high achiever. One of the biggest takeaways was even kids with genius-level IQs need teachers to help them reach their full potential. The study began in 1971. It's called the SMPY, the SIMPY Study of Mathematically Precocious Youth. And it tracked 5,000 of the smartest children in America. It's the longest running study of gifted children in history. This SIMPY test, they basically tested kids with SATs, university entrance exam, and other IQ tests. And they began looking at their later paths in life, their career paths, and they found that the most gifted kids went on to earn doctorates, graduate degrees. They hold patents at rates far above less gifted children. Most sit among the top 5,000 of income earners. But it's interesting because the study said the trouble is that genius kids often receive too little attention from their teachers. I couldn't understand this. They write them off because they feel like they know what they're doing and they're smarter than the other kids. And they looked at how much attention the gifted children got, and they found that the overwhelming majority of the class time was spent helping the lower achieving students. And basically, the other takeaway is the teachers need to avoid teaching a one-size-fits-all curriculum and focus on everybody. They said that skipping a grade helped the gifted kids reach their potentials. Also, as we know, intelligence is highly varied. Just because somebody can memorize facts, doesn't mean that they are highest intelligence. We all have our own gifts in life. Also, they said that standardized tests aren't always a waste of time. I have to say, with these SATs and all the standardized tests, some kids just don't test well. They get nervous. They don't remember. It doesn't have anything to do with intelligence. Not everybody is a great test taker. So that's another thing. Then it said that grit doesn't overshadow early cognitive ability. Successful people tend to keep what's known as a growth mindset as opposed to a fixed mindset. They view themselves as fluid, changing beings that can adapt and grow and that are not static. It says the earliest signs of cognitive ability in kids can predict how well they do later in life, and ignoring all the practice that may or may not come in between. So it's up to the parents, teachers to recognize abilities early on and nurture as much as possible. Well, I looked at this study and I thought, okay, this sort of says that gifted kids do more, but I'm not buying it. You know how I love to share my studies if you listen to me every week. Studies are interesting. We have to take them with a grain of salt. My takeaway is no matter what personality your child has, be there, sit with them, learn with them, read to them. If they're older, do math, do spelling words, do whatever the child needs for who they are. Every child's different, every baby's different, and not everybody needs the same thing. And I don't really think, of course, other things come into play with the economy where you live, how much money you have, can you go to college? Can you go, what can you do? But it doesn't matter. Every child is a miracle. Take the time to nurture them, sit down with them, and as the teachers have to do too, make sure you go with their strengths, but don't neglect things that are their weaknesses because maybe they just don't know about them. Anyway, that was my takeaway with this study. I love sharing some of these studies sometimes. Also, I want to share some information from my book. I have 3 books. Help My Baby Came Without Instructions, More Help My Baby Came Without Instructions, and Help My Toddler Came Without Instructions. And I want to share some information from my book called Help My Toddler Came Without Instructions, and boy, isn't that true. Anyway, I have a chapter called Toddlers Gone Wild, and we know that toddlers, especially around 2, they have those tantrums, they do go wild. However, this chapter was about how to help when they do these things, when they have a tantrum. What do you do? So a couple of my own tips, because toddlers are really not going wild. They're just being toddlers. They're precocious, they're curious, they're interested, they have fun. You know what? It's wonderful, which is what we're going to talk about with Alan today. Not toddlers, but all of us. So, when you have a toddler, offer limited choices, but let them make a choice. Do you want yogurt or cereal for breakfast? Do you want to wear the pink or the blue shirt? Don't give them 26 choices. Positive reinforcement is wonderful. Let them know they're making a choice. Also, when your toddler is reluctant to choose, voice the one that you want them to do. If you're trying to get out of the house for work and you're giving the toddler a couple choices, say the one that you want them to do last. Do you want to put your shoes on? Do you want to put your socks on? Whatever it is, because most times a toddler will pick the last one mentioned because it's what she heard last. Also, offer choices that you can live with. Don't give them choices that, it's going to make you late for work or something you don't want to do. And decide ahead of time. Decide ahead of time what choices you're going to give them and have a routine. I can't say it enough. Routine, and consistency with toddlers will make your life so easy because they get used to it. Everybody knows what's going to happen. And I know you can't do it every single day. Things happen. They get sick. Things happen. Life happens. But try to do a routine the best you can, and be consistent and stick to it, even if you're tired, and talk to your partner about it so you're both on the same page. So anyway, those are just a few tips from my book, Help, My Baby Came Without Instructions. I have hundreds of tips. My books make great gifts. They'll help you. They're in list form. You go down the list, you pick what's going on in your family. I have potty training, birthday parties, running noses, travel, everything. And you can find my books on mybestparentingadvice.com. They're on Amazon. They're on Barnes & Noble. They're on Audible. And, if you order from me and you want me to sign the book and I can sign it and mail it, let me know. So I wanted to share that with you before I welcome my guests. We are going to have a commercial break in just about 2 minutes. But I want to tell you about my wonderful guest today. His name is Alan Klein. He's the world's only jollytologist, and he'll tell you what that is. He's an award-winning inspirational speaker and author based in San Francisco. With a large following, Klein was inspired and uplifted many of his readers, including the legendary Jerry Lewis. His books include You Can't Ruin My Day. I love that book. I love all his books. Mom's the Word, Inspiration for a Lifetime. And he's sold over 600,000 copies. And it's interesting because I have one of his older books called Parent Laughs. And it's funny because when I started doing my radio show and I saw his books, I immediately wanted to have Alan on as a guest. And I was looking at my bookshelf and I saw that I had bought this book because if you know me, you know I have a sense of humor. And this book is just great. It was written in 2006. Called Parent Laughs, Quips, Quotes, and Anecdotes About Raising Kids. So I have the Alan Klein bookshelf, and it has his books, and I believe that this new book, Secrets Kids Know That Adults Ought to Learn, is his 26th book, and I'm going to have to get a new bookshelf. I'm going to have to buy a bigger bookshelf for Alan Klein when he keeps writing. So, Alan, we're going to break for a commercial, but I just want to say good morning. When we come back, I have so much to talk to you about with this book. I just love it. So
Good morning. Thank you.
Oh, good morning. Thanks for being on the show. And the book is wonderful, along with your other ones. And I'm sitting here looking at a few of your books. I didn't bring them all down on the table, but that's another story. So we will be right back. Please stay with us. It's baby and toddler instructions.
We'll be right back with more Help, My Baby Came Without Instructions. It's Baby and Toddler Instructions with Blythe Lipman on TogiNet. We'll be right back right after these.
Recently, while my family was skiing in Colorado, we were greeted by a red fox that darted out of the trees. This beautiful animal with his big bushy tail just stood in the snow and stared right at us. Maybe he smelled all the liverwort we had in our pockets. Liverwort is another word for junk and snack food. Typically, a red fox eats scrub and woodland, but this one appeared to have had his share of hamburgers and hot dogs from the Chalet Grill. Foxes are similar to dogs, except they are not pack animals. The female fox or vixen typically gives birth to a litter of 2 to 12 pups. When they are young, they all live together as a family, known as a leash of foxes. Once grown, the young foxes leave the burrow and go out to live on their own. I'm Carolyn Davidson, and you can have fun challenging your words you never heard vocabulary with my free app, Too Funny for Words.
It's the Fitness Minute with fitness expert Annette Hammond.
Is it recommended that you stretch before your workout? Does stretching your muscles before you exercise prevent injury? According to Shape magazine, there is no scientific study that shows stretching before exercise will improve performance or protect your body from injury. They state that stretching increases flexibility, but most injuries occur during normal range of motion. The best way to prepare for your workout and reduce your risk of injury is to warm up. It is important that you increase blood flow to your muscles to prepare them for activity. Warming up also prepares your mind for the workout ahead. Focusing on your exercise and your performance can make a big difference to the intensity of your workout session. Warming up by moving around and getting blood to the working muscles is important, and save your stretching until after the workout. For the Fitness Minute, I'm Annette Hammond.
Welcome back to Baby and Toddler Instructions with Blythe Lipman on TogiNet, the hour for all moms with little ones to come for great advice, encouragement, and great ideas for all new parents. Now, back to the show with Blythe Lipman.
Well, welcome back to Baby and Toddler Instructions. I said good morning to my wonderful guest before the commercial break. His name is Alan Stein, and we're going to get right into it. Alan's been on the show before. He's a jollytologist, and I'll tell you, when you meet Alan, you just smile. He's wonderful. So, Alan, good morning again. Thanks for being on the show, and please tell my listeners what a jollytologist is.
Well, it really ties in with this book, Secrets Kids Know, because kids, right, they can be anything they want. And so I thought, well, I want to be anything I want. So I coined the term jollytologist, and that came out of, I got a master's degree in therapeutic humor. And so in Greek, the word gelos, G-E-L-O-S, is laughter. And so I started calling myself a gelotologist, but people thought I made dessert, So I changed it to jollytologist just because it gives you a little hint of maybe I have something to do with lightening up and happiness and joy and laughter and humor. So that's how jollytologist came about.
That's great. You know what? And we have to have a sense of humor. That's the biggest thing, and I say that to new parents all the time, is keep your sense of humor. If you really pay attention, you're going to be laughing a lot. Because kids are great.
In one of my workshops, this is real interesting, a woman, we talked about laughing with the kids, and she said, I can't laugh with my child. And I said, why?
Why?
I said, it's a way of bonding, a way of enjoying each other. She said, because I'm the mother, and I have to discipline the child. And if we start laughing together, then that doesn't work. And I said, it probably would work better because the child will really like you more and do what you want. I mean, laughter is a way of bonding with each other. So it was kind of sad to me that she said that, but I guess some parents think that way.
Yeah, you know what? That's sad. That's all I can say is it's sad. And I have to share something with you because before the show started, I was on the computer and I was, looking around, and one of my friends posted something, and it's a sign that the Department of Transportation put up. It says, "Don't move in mysterious ways. Use your blinker." And I was looking at the comments, and one of the comments, everybody can say what they want, but one of the comments was, "This is really distracting more than helpful." And I thought, okay, you know what? Yes, we're supposed to be paying attention. Yes, we're supposed to be putting our blinkers on, but it made me laugh.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And I thought, why don't we laugh more, and why aren't we more like our kids and have more fun? So tell my listeners about this new wonderful book.
Well, the book came about, all my books come about because something happens in my life and a light bulb goes off and I go, God, I'd love to share that with more people. And so I just start writing a book about it. So this one actually, I guess the seed happened when my daughter was a young teenager. And I was writing my first book, The Healing Power of Humor, and I was really into it. I'd never written a book before. I had a deadline. So I was really serious about getting this book, to meet the deadline and getting it finished. And young teenager, she would come storming into my office, about every 15 minutes to tell me something that certainly could have waited. And finally, I put a big sign on my door because I didn't want interruptions. And the sign said, "Do not disturb unless it's an emergency." And I shut the door, and certainly, what do you think happened, Blythe? 15 minutes later, knock on the door. I'm screaming, "Yes, Sarah, what do you want? Is this an emergency?" And she said, "Yes, it is." So I opened the door. "Yes, Sarah, what do you want?" And she said, "I want to tell you I love you."
Oh, my gosh. It gives me chills.
So I realized, I've been carrying that around all these years, and I realized how wise kids are, how attuned to stuff. I mean, here I was writing a book about humor, and I was getting way too serious. And so kids are loving, I think they're born loving, they're born compassionate, they're born caring. And then a lot of parents, teachers, other adults kind of drum that out of kids, and I think it's time that maybe adults grow down and learn some stuff from kids again, because we've lost that.
You know what? We have lost it, and I am so lucky to have a 2-year-old grandson. And some of the stuff he does, I just laugh. And he's got a great sense of humor, which when they laugh, we laugh. And I'm looking at your table of contents. I love the names of your chapters: Be Amazed, Be a Beginner, Be Creative, Be Joyful. I love the one on napping. We should all take a nap. And,
Right.
It's interesting because how is adult, like your story that we were talking about, that you can't laugh with your child, how is an adult, in our crazy world that we're rushing, how do you stop and sit there and, laugh and watch what your child's doing, but watch what you're doing? First of all, your illustrations are great. Who did them?
Well, my daughter did them, and she's an artist. And I said, Sarah, this book was inspired by you, and we play a lot together. She was 50 2 weeks ago. I can't believe it.
Wow.
But we still play together. We still laugh. We can still go down the street and go up to a parking meter, make believe it's a microphone, and sing a song together in it.
That's great.
So the book was inspired by her, and she's an artist, and I said, Sarah, this would be great if you did the illustrations. So this is, the things happen in my life, I call them mini miracles, because they're so unexpected, and they're so amazing to me that I see them as miracles. So the miracle here was I asked her to do the illustrations. She took each chapter and did these fabulous pictures of bears, illustrating what I'm writing about. So the chapter, I just opened the book, it's Be a Daydreamer, and there's a bear sitting on a bench, and above the bear is this clouds with rainbows, and, kind of daydreaming. And so she did those, and I sent them to the publisher. I did not see the cover of the book. She did not see the cover of the book. They did not see her illustrations, and they put a bear on the cover of the book.
Wow. Meant to be. That really is a miracle, because I just opened to Be Forgiving. This is so cute. Kiss and Make Up, the two bears with their arms around each other, or Be Creative. There's a little bear with crayons coloring. I mean, this is, you know what, I can just go on and on about this, and I don't know where to start, where to end, because each chapter like, for instance, The Beginner's Mind with the word Shoshin, I use a meditation every morning, and it's called calm.com, and I love it. And it's funny because the day before I started writing I usually script the show because I like to, have my recalls and everything, or if there's some current events that I want to share. Mm-hmm. And the meditation for that day was about Shoshin, which means beginner's mind.
Mm-hmm.
And, what you say is children are experts in beginner's mind because they're beginners.
Right.
Why can't we still be beginners?
Adults have all these preconceived notions, and kids, they're totally open to whatever happens. They're just totally open, and they're just so present. And I realized the other day, when I was thinking more about the book and things that I left out, that one of the things was that kids, they're explorers. And they like to take things apart, and they like to really look close, at stuff. And maybe adults, just some simple thing, just like I have a beautiful begonias growing out my kitchen window, and they're really colorful, they're bright, they're wonderful, and in the kitchen I see them, and it really lifts me up. It's just like a great way to boost my energy. So then, I go out and water them, and then the other day I start looking really closer. And yes, they're incredibly beautiful, but they're even more beautiful when I can look inside the flower and I see maybe a different color coming out, or I can see how one flower is totally different than another, or the veins, the red veins in the leaf. I mean, so one of the ideas that I did not put in the book, and it goes with beginner's mind, of course, is just explore, get closer, take things apart when you can, see how they're made. And that's what kids would do, and I think adults don't do that. We gloss over things. We walk down the street on our cell phone. We don't even look at anyone else. But just observe the world at a closer range, or just stop a minute and observe everything around you.
And it's interesting. Don't say you don't have time, because it only takes seconds, minutes to look at something and go, wow. It's funny you're talking about your begonias, because yesterday I love planting my herb garden because I love to cook. So I use my herbs when I cook. And it's funny because I went to the nursery and I bought all the herbs I wanted to plant this year, and I planted them yesterday. And I actually was standing there looking at how different they look too. It didn't take long, and I thought, boy, the leaves on the thyme are so different than the leaves on the basil, and I got different kinds of basil, and then I started thinking about what am I going to put this in, and the recipes, and the
So that's beginner's mind. I mean, just stop for a minute and look at your world. Look at things around you. They're amazing, and that's my first chapter, or the first secret, is be amazed, because the world is so amazing, and adults don't see it. They're too busy, they're rushing. So just stop a moment and look and listen to the abundant, amazing world around us.
It really is amazing. And like you said, people are so busy with their cell phones in their ears. They walk into people have gotten hit by cars. Put the cell phone down. I think like in one of your chapters you talk about turning your cell phone off, putting your cell phone down, unless you're a doctor on call, of course, and stop for a minute and do something that brings you joy. But we're going to have to stop for a minute while everybody goes and finds their joy, because we're coming up to another commercial break. And when we come back, I have so many things to ask you and talk about with this wonderful book, Secrets Kids Know That Adults Ought to Learn. And I do have to do an aside and say, I just got a new puppy. He's 4 months old, and I had to put him in his crate because he was barking. So Lenny's doing a really good job. Thanks for not barking. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Baby love, my baby love, I need you. Oh, I need you.
We'll be right back with more help. For help, my baby came without instructions. It's Baby and Toddler Instructions with Blythe Lipman on TogiNet. We'll be right back right after these.
Baby love, my baby love, I need you. Oh, I need you.
It's words you never heard.
Have you ever found yourself in an airplane seated next to a nonstop talker that you really don't have anything at all in common with? When I fly, I usually want to catch up on my reading and not have to listen to an explatterator. It's even worse if they're a philodox. That's a person who just loves their own opinion. Well, now a Facebook app lets you choose your own seatmate before you fly. According to an article in USA Today, social media startups are bringing together compatible flyers before they take their seats. That's good news for people lovers, otherwise known as philodemics. A number of apps such as Plainly and Satisfy are helping travelers meet not only online, but in person. Think the Match.com of travel. I love flying and have been to almost as many places as my luggage.
It's words you never heard.
I'm Carolyn Davidson, and you can have fun challenging your words you never heard vocabulary with my free app, Too Funny for Words.
It's the Fitness Minute with fitness expert Annette Hammond.
CNN reported on a study by the National Center for Health Statistics that found that teenage males were the most frequent consumers of sugary drinks, including sodas, sweetened waters, and energy, sports, and fruit beverages. They guzzle about 252 to 273 calories every day from various drinks. The intake of these sugary drinks has multiplied over the last 30 years. When soda pop was first invented, it was an extravagance that most people had every once in a while. But now it's a daily fixture in American life, and whether they are sold in fast food drive-ups, vending machines, convenience stores, or other venues, sugary drinks are easily accessed. Cutting out these drinks is a vital part of healthy living. For the Fitness Minute, I'm Annette Hammond. Like us on Facebook.
Welcome back to Baby and Toddler Instructions with Blythe Lipman on TogiNet, the hour for all moms with little ones to come for great advice, encouragement, and great ideas for all new parents. Now, back to the show with Blythe Lipman.
Well, welcome back to Baby and Toddler Instructions. I am here with my wonderful guest, author, jollytologist Alan Klein. And in my hand is his true masterpiece, as somebody wrote in one of the blogs. His new book, Secrets Kids Know That Adults Ought to Learn. You know, we all have an inner child, and a lot of us, we lose it because we're busy, or you know what, we forget, or whatever. Alan, one of the things I wanted to talk about was the power of play. And I have to say, you posted a picture. You were at this wonderful museum. It was like a play museum. Was that in San Francisco? I just wanted to get on the plane and come play.
Oh, yeah. It was fabulous. I felt like true kid again. It was, it may still be going. They were going to only have it for a month. They took over an old building downtown. It was called the Color Factory. Anybody coming to San Francisco, highly recommend you see it. And every floor had different rooms that you went into. And I think one of the photos that you may have seen that was my favorite room is you have this huge, like, pen, or what would you call it? Marker, color marker, and it's about 3 feet long, so it's really big. And the walls are just for you to mark up, to draw whatever you want on the wall. And it was so great. But they had another one that it was a huge room and a big, like, swimming pool filled with yellow balls. And each room, by the way, was a different color. So the drawing room was green trim, and the pen was green, and this room was all yellow. And then they gave you food to go with it. So, color food. So, in one of the rooms we got little cookies that were that color, like purple cookies, and in the yellow room we got yellow ices, and it was just magical.
Wow,
I just really felt like a kid.
What's it called again? The Color
Factory.
That's
it was all month of August, and then they extended it to September, and I heard it's being extended even longer.
Every state should have that, because you're making me think when you're talking about this big marker. I mean, how many times do kids draw on the wall and you say, you can't draw on the wall, here's a piece of paper, you can't do that. And what's the one thing we want to do is we want to do exactly what we tell our kids not to do.
Exactly. And so it was really liberating to be a kid and to do, one room is nothing but confetti falling down on you. And another room was all hanging ribbons, so you get to walk through all these ribbons. Just so clever. And so I want to go back now that we're talking about it.
What fun. And we can do that at home. I'll tell you, it's interesting. I taught preschool for many years, and in one of my 2-year-old classes, I had a little girl who had a make-believe kitchen like, we get our kids. And her mom told me, she came to school one day, and she had white all over her shirt, and I said, what happened? Did she get into the baby powder? And Mom said no. She was playing in her kitchen, making pretend breakfast, and I let her play with flour. I can vacuum it up, and she can mix it with spoons. And I thought, how great.
Yeah, that's fabulous.
How great.
Now that you say that, I remember my mom told me when I was very young, my favorite thing was not my toys, but my favorite thing was to take all the pots out of the lower cabinet in the kitchen, and then put them back, and then take them out again and put them back again. So that's another idea. Kids, anything is a toy for kids. Everything is this world is their playground. And again, adults can learn that, there is stuff all around them that they can play with, either mentally or physically.
I'm so happy you said that. I'll give myself a little plug. If you go to mybestparentingadvice.com, my newest blog is called What's in Your House, and it's about that. Everything you have in the house that's a toy that you don't know is a toy, that you don't have to go out and get, because it's interesting, pretty soon will be Halloween, and everybody will be talking about the holidays and buying 10 million toys for their kids. And it's always the joke, isn't it? They like the box. They don't care about the toy. Give them the box. Give them the paper.
Right. And but that's another level here is adults have some of their favorite toys around and things to remind them to lighten up because the world, the news is serious, the job may be serious, so they need to lighten up and just reminders. So I'm in my office, I'm looking around, of course there's clown noses and Groucho glasses, but there's also a picture of my daughter with a pie in her face when she wanted to have that. I'm pretty much bald, so I have a sign that says handicap bald-headed parking only, and a picture of a bald-headed guy. Stickers around. I have a photo of Woody Allen that was signed. I have Teletubbies.
You talk about Teletubbies. Talk about them a little bit.
Are they still on?
I don't know. I don't know.
Okay. Well, I love them when they were on. I don't know. They would just, my inner child just identified with them. So I have a couple of their toys on my shelf. A Ronald McDonald toy, Elmo toy, just stuff that I look at and kind of makes me smile. A clown figure here, Mickey Mouse hand that I got at Disney World, and like that.
It doesn't take much, and we should all do that. And an author says if you have something and it doesn't bring you joy, you should get rid of it. I mean, like
exactly.
you, I have two Elmos. I have the Hokey Pokey Elmo and the Elmo that laughs, and it just cracks me up. It doesn't matter. You don't need a whole room for your stuff if you don't have an office or a place, but even one or two things. It's funny, in my car, I have two stuffed animals in the back seat because they make me laugh. And they're my buddies that I drive with, and I look back and, I silly talk to them, say good morning if I get in the car. But it's fun.
I advise adults, go to a toy store and identify something that, calls out to you and maybe buy that for yourself. Not for the kids, for yourself.
No, not for the kids. And you don't have to share it. You don't have to give it to them. It can be all yours. That's the thing. We, as adults, we share everything. As parents, we share everything. But it is okay to have our own stuff that makes us happy. Also, in one of your chapters, you talk about, being nice and being kind. And my grandfather had a shoe store for 60 years. And he, they used to give out matchbooks at that time, years and years ago, and his little mantra was, it's nice to be nice. And I was reading your chapter, and it really made me smile because it doesn't take much. It takes just as much energy to be nasty as it does to be nice, and it makes you feel better.
Right. And I think a great lesson there about being kind and loving from kids is you notice kids will be angry with another kid. You took my toy, or you don't want to play with me, and 5-10 minutes later, they're again playing with the kid. They kind of kiss and make up. And I think maybe if we adults carry around less anger and let things go and kiss and make up like a kid would, the world might be a better place instead of holding a grudge and carrying it around with us. The other thing that we can learn from kids is they're great huggers. I remember I was at a conference, and I was having lunch in the big meeting, and there was this little 4-year-old opposite me, and we were kind of playing, and I was kind of hide and seek. And the next day, I was walking to the main meeting. I was outside in this big pathway, and the kid was way down the path, but he saw me and came running as fast as he could to give me a big hug. And kids are like that. They just they love the world until they're taught not to.
That's where we have to stop and smell the roses, because there's nothing better than a hug from a little kid. Nothing better. They don't think about it. That's the other thing as adults. We have all these preconceived notions, and then when we get upset with somebody, we spend more energy internally being upset and being angry and what this person did and what you're going to say, and instead of letting it go.
I remember when I was growing up, the neighbor, we lived in an apartment building right next door, something happened, and my mother wouldn't let me play with their son. You know, we couldn't even say hello to them when we met them in the hallway. And I still remember that, and it was like, but I wanted to play with that kid, you know, or why aren't we saying hello to that person? It just seemed totally weird to me as a kid. But kids don't do that. They you know, forgive and forget and move on.
Well, they do. And, you know, on page 73 in your chapter, Play the Part, I love what you say. Next time you're having a miserable day, why not pretend like a child or an actor and imagine you're having a great day? You know, it's hard to do. It's difficult, but boy, it's amazing when you stop and think about it. And some of that stress goes away because we're all human. You know, we all make mistakes, and it's nice to be nice, and it's nice to be happy, and it's nice to have a great sense of humor. So, you know, as I say, kids can teach us a lot, and I have a story in the book that I really like. I forget what it illustrates, but it's kids in a Catholic school. They're in the cafeteria, and there's a bowl of apples, and there's a sign, because kids were taking more than one, there's a sign on it, only take one apple, God is watching. And I love this
down
story.
on the line, there was a whole pile of chocolate cookies, and a kid put a sign, take as many as you want, God is watching the apples.
I love that story. I love that story.
So kids are so creative, you know. That's the other, one of the other lessons is be creative.
You know, and they take things literally. Like if you say to a child, let me see what your shirt looks like in the back, and you say turn around, they don't turn around. They turn around in a circle. You told them to turn around. And that's what they do. So we're going to turn around.
You talked about finding a sense of humor. Adults can, if you take things literally sometimes, it's a way of finding the humor. And often comedians or cartoonists, they'll draw something and they do it's literally, and so you laugh at it because it's a different way of looking at something.
But it's the real way because it's what we say. Anyway, we are going to look at this literally. We're going to have another commercial break. And when we come back, I can't believe it will be the last part of the show. I'm going to ask Alan about his favorite chapter and his favorite tip. He has 18 secrets in this wonderful book. Secrets kids know that adults ought to learn. Everybody needs this book. Anyway, we will be right back. Stay with us.
We'll be right back with more Help My Baby Came Without Instructions. It's Baby and Toddler Instructions with Blythe Lipman on TogiNet. We'll be right back right after these.
It's words you never heard.
Have you heard about Mel and Joy Schwanke, a Nebraska couple that have worn matching outfits for the last 35 years? Apparently, they have over 140 matching outfits, all custom-made, which typically match her dress with his tie. The couple is a match made in heaven. Neither one of them can remember the exact date they started this quirky tradition, but they both contend it's one of the elements that have held their marriage together an impressive 65 years. What do you call a marriage between well-matched people? Nomocamosis. Mr. and Mrs. Schwanke say that Velcro connects them because they do everything together. If you like doting on your wife with excessive fondness, you would be uxorious. And a woman who is excessively devoted to her husband is meritorious.
It's words you never heard.
I'm Carolyn Davidson, and you can have fun challenging your words you never heard vocabulary with my free app, Too Funny for Words.
It's the Fitness Minute with fitness expert Annette Hammond.
The National Heart, Lung, and Blood Institute defines high cholesterol as a condition in which you have too much cholesterol in your blood. By itself, the condition usually has no signs or symptoms. People who have high blood cholesterol have a greater chance of getting coronary artery disease. According to the American Heart Association, more than 120 million Americans over the age of 20 have cholesterol counts that are above a healthy level. Harvard Medical School says that the good news is that cholesterol levels can be controlled, and just by lowering your total cholesterol 10%, you can decrease your heart attack risk by 20 to 30%. Making changes in your eating is important, but including daily exercise is a must. For the Fitness Minute, I'm Annette Hammond. Visit our Facebook fan page at Fitness Minute with Annette Hammond.
Welcome back to Baby and Toddler Instructions with Blythe Lipman on TogiNet, the hour for all moms with little ones to come for great advice, encouragement, and great ideas for all new parents. Now, back to the show with Blythe Lipman.
Well, welcome back to Baby and Toddler Instructions. I am here with my wonderful guest and his masterpiece book, Secrets Kids Know That Adults Ought to Learn, Alan Klein. Alan, is this your 26th book?
26, although I must confess, be truthful here, some of the books are reprints in different form, different title, different introduction. So I didn't actually write 26, but probably I wrote close to 20.
Wow, I was serious when I was talking about the Alan Klein bookshelf. I'm going to need a new bookshelf. I love your books, and I just thought about this too. Sometimes when I just want to laugh, I will pull one of your books out because you have all these little stories and little quips and quirks, as you say, quips and quotes and anecdotes from your Parent Laughs book, and I'll just look at it and it makes me laugh.
Great.
So
well, we were
just
book. Talking about literally speaking, and during the break, I remember an incident happened to me, and I realized how kids see things that way, and how adults change things that might be for the better, might not. But I was walking down the street, and there was a group of mentally challenged kids with their teacher, and a plane had flown over and left the jet stream, and this little kid looks up and goes, "Look, a skyline." And I thought, yes, that is really a skyline, not what we call a skyline. What we call
it is.
Skyline is actually outline of buildings, but that was really a skyline.
And it's literal. That's what it was. It's a line in the sky.
Exactly. And it's perfect. And so kids do that, and, often when they do that, not so much in this case, but often they tell the truth.
They do tell the truth.
Yeah, I had taken my daughter to a movie in San Francisco once, and right in front of us was the actor Joel Grey. And my daughter, who was, I don't know how old then, but young, and out loud she says, "I didn't know that Joel Grey was getting bald."
It's like in the grocery store, once a kid will point to someone and go, "Why is she so fat?" or "Why is something?"
Mm-hmm.
And they're just, hopefully adults will understand, but a lot of times, they look at you with judgment. I remember with my kids in the grocery store once, one of my kids looked at a woman that was in there and actually said, "Look at that fat lady," and the lady was behind me, and I wanted to crawl under something, and I just basically said, "I'm really sorry, but why are we apologizing? You know what? The lady was fat. What can I say?" This is what my little one saw. So before we go on,
the truth. That's another thing in the book. They're wise and they tell the truth.
They
and
do tell
maybe we try to fake news these days. Maybe that's what I need to write about, is how kids tell the truth and how adults are inventing all this stuff or calling real stuff fake. And the kids are wise and kids are honest.
You know what? We learn from the beginning you should always tell the truth, but then it changes as they get older. But before we go on, where can my listeners get your book?
Oh God, it's all over the place. Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, any site online they can get it. Kobo, because the book is not only a great little book to hold in your hand, but also ebook, audio book. They can get the album now, or they can get it on audio something. I don't remember
Audible.
the site, but
Audible.
So it's just all they can order it from their bookstore. They can go online and get it. They can go to my site and order it. All of that.
And everybody should have it, because anybody that's an adult, you will laugh You will shake your head. You will smile. There's so much good stuff in here. As I said before, one of my favorite chapters was about napping in timeouts and slowing down. Can you talk about that? Do you nap? Are you a napper?
I do nap, not every day, but just around. I mean, I'm pretty intense when I'm working. So at 3 o'clock, I take my dog out. So that gives me, and then I come back, I work a little, and then right before dinner, it's like I've had it for the day, and I will nap for 10, 15 minutes, and then I'm ready to go for the evening.
You know, there's nothing wrong with naps. I love my naps. 20 minutes. I have never set a clock. I've never set an alarm. Like you, well, you take your dog about 3:30. I kind of had it because I'm a morning person, and 20 minutes, and I wake up, and it's like it's a new day again. It's wonderful. So
yeah, well, I mentioned, I don't remember them all, but I mentioned several famous people that were nap takers. Like Churchill, I think, was one.
Or one, I think, was Kennedy.
Kennedy was another. Yes. Yeah. No, naps are great, and kids do that all the time, right? They just fall asleep.
Ronald Reagan, Bill Clinton, John Kennedy, Winston Churchill, they all knew you needed a nap because when you're tired, you know what? You don't do everything as well as you can. You may think you do, but you really don't. So naps are important. You know, and I know a few years ago they talked about a few businesses instilled napping. They had nap rooms.
Right.
And I think that's
for
great.
The bottom line, yeah, they want their employees to be wide awake and energetic and creative, and a nap will get that back in your life.
Almost better than coffee. So, what's your favorite chapter or tip or secret in the book? There's so many of them.
Well, there's so many, I can't really say I have a favorite, but one of the things I don't think we talked a lot about, and because I'm so creative, is how kids can teach us to be more creative. And one of the stories I write about is this high school teacher who took a piece of chalk and put a dot on the blackboard, and she asked the students, what is that? And most of them, high school kids, said, oh, it's a dot on the blackboard. She then went the next day to the kindergarten class and did the same thing, and they said things like, oh, it's a spaceship in outer space. It's a dog seen from the roof of the Empire State Building. It's a fly on the windshield, a star in the sky, a squash bug. So what I'm saying is kids are so creative, and I think hanging around them, they can show us how we can be more creative. And, particularly I think when we're stuck with a problem, one of the things I do in my longer workshops when I'm talking about play is we look at whatever thing is stressing you out or is a problem that you can't seem to solve. Think about how would a child deal with this? What would a child do? And it's amazing how in my class adults come up, oh, we could do that, or we can have a potluck that day and bring only red food and whatever. I don't know what they come up with because it's different problems, but just think like a child. How would a child deal or solve your problem? And it's a way of starting to think outside the box, which is what kids do.
It's so true and so interesting. I was thinking when you were talking about the story with the dot, I bet if you did a poll of adults, I bet majority of adults would say it's a dot. Mm-hmm. I bet they would, if you say, well, use your imagination. It's interesting because, when I play with my 2-year-old grandson, I made a box it started out as a house for his little Matchbox cars. Then we put some green tape on it, and it became a racetrack for the cars on the top of the box. And it turned into so many things with this box. And he was doing things that I thought, I never thought of that.
Yeah.
So we all need to grow down. We all need to think like a child, and everybody needs to buy Alan Klein's wonderful new book, Secrets Kids Know That Adults Ought to Learn. Alan, I have to thank you for being on the show. We're coming to the end. It's been wonderful. Everybody ought to have this book. And like Alan says, quickly, what's your next thing coming up?
Well, because kids are so amazing and show us how abundant the world is, the next book is on abundance, and title is A is for Abundance.
Wow, I love that, and I can't wait to have you back on the show when that comes. And like you say, in the end, and you have to read his book to see why he says this, I want the one with a happy ending. So this is a happy ending. Please come back on my show with your next book. And thank you so much. Have a wonderful day, Alan. Thank you.
Thank you, Blythe. You're a gem. Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Wow, what a fun guest. What a great show. And I'm serious. I love his book. I honestly could not put it down. I mean, there's so many messages for us as adults, especially in our world, that's just so tough to deal with. You know, there's lots of things that are hard to deal with. So a big thank you hug to Alan. Start ordering that book, Secrets Kids Know That Adults Ought to Learn, and my books, My Best Parenting Help My Baby Came Without Instructions, More Help, and Help My Toddler Came Without Instructions. Next week, my guest will be Heather Haupt. She was going to talk about raising honorable, courageous, and compassionate boys. Her book called Knights in Training is another great one. I can't wait to talk to Heather. If you'd like to be a guest on the show, contact me via my website, My Best Parenting Advice. Call my office at 480-510-1453. And visit TogiNet, TOGINET.com. They can always find me, and they have other wonderful shows. You know, look at the lineup. Great shows on TogiNet. Also, when you get a second, I'm asking a favor. Please like my Facebook pages, My Best Parenting Advice and Baby Instructions. And also, I am on Twitter. I do Periscopes. I do videos. I'm all over the place like my guest, Alan Klein. I love sharing my information and my tips and my recipes for parents. You know, you're all so busy. So as always, you know, I like to end my show with a little humor. And today, a treat, a couple of quotes from two from Alan Klein's earliest book, Parent Laughs, Quips, Quotes, Anecdotes About Raising Kids. So Ray and Marcia pulled up to the drive-in window at the bank, and Angela, who was 4, called from the back seat, "I'll take a hamburger and an order of fries." That's from his book, Parent Laughs. Also, "Look, Toby," my patient's husband said to his 4-year-old at the window of the hospital nursery, "That's your new little sister." Wide-eyed, Toby noticed the infant's wristband and said, "Golly, she still has her price tag on." And from Alan Klein's newest book, Secrets Kids Know That Adults Ought to Learn, a child comes home from his first day of school, and his mother says, "What did you learn today?" He says, "Not enough. I have to go back tomorrow." So on that note, I'm so happy you could tune in today. I'd like to wish all my Jewish friends, listeners, and colleagues a happy, healthy, and safe New Year. It is the first night of the holiday tonight. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great rest of the week, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.